Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, but especially thank you for inviting me at an exciting time in your education system. I will talk to you about your curriculum, early childhood curriculum across Europe, but I will also talk to you about the English curriculum, which we revised and reformed, and in 2008 we wrote the curriculum which we now have, and in 2014 we announced that we were going to have a new curriculum reform, and everyone was very excited. I was going to join, and then Brexit happened. So now all of government has stopped because the entire government is involved in Brexit. So we were going to have a new curriculum next year, and now we still have the old curriculum. So it's a pleasure to be here because you are doing the job that I wish I could be doing in my own country, which is coming up with an exciting curriculum for the century. So I'm afraid our new curriculum will have to wait, but you can forge ahead. So I'll talk to you about some of the ideas across Europe, because many other European countries are reformulating a curriculum for the young child in the 21st century. So first, I'll talk to you about two research studies. The first study was carried out with European Union funding, and it was a study of the curriculum in 11 European countries: the Netherlands, Finland, Greece, Poland, Italy, England, many European countries, and we studied the curriculum where we had been, the previous curriculum, and where the curriculum was moving. And so I'll tell you what seems to be the emerging consensus across Europe about the early childhood curriculum. We asked parents, we asked staff, we asked country experts and researchers, what is the old curriculum that you have, and what is the direction that you're moving? We asked them about pedagogy, that is, what were the means by which they taught the children. We asked about the philosophical history of the curriculum, the age range of children in early childhood, the qualifications of the staff. So now I'll share with you what we found out about the direction of curriculum reform across Europe. To begin with, this is the historical past. We asked each country who are the philosophical or psychological theorists on which your current curriculum is based. And the two most popular, the two strongest influences in these countries across Europe were Montessori and Froebel. Most countries of the 11, 10 out of 11 countries, would have said, we go back in our tradition to Froebel and to Montessori. Although you see Malaguzzi for Reggio Emilia, John Bowlby in England, Vygotsky and Piaget, of course. So these are the common intellectual roots for the curriculum across Europe. Now, this may seem that there is a common curriculum across Europe, but this is not the case. Where there is a common curriculum for early childhood, it focuses on socio-emotional development. All of the countries, and from the last century, said we have a strong agreement and influence of fostering the child's socio-emotional development. We had in the previous talk the joy of learning, and this is across Europe. However, in this century, there is a new influence which is coming in, and this is a new emphasis on skill development related to self-regulation, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, and that these are the new areas of development that the curriculum, the new emerging curriculum, will focus on. And we can see there are 3 pillars, and the curriculum has some aspect of all 3. So if we look here on the left, this is the curriculum of the last century. It focuses on developing confidence in children, collaboration in children's play, communication skills, and emotional self-regulation. This is the curriculum from the last century, and we are not abandoning it. We're not throwing it away. It will remain in the curriculum for this century. But also, we have this curriculum on the right-hand side, which is acquiring knowledge about subjects and skills. And here we will have mathematics, science, the beginnings of reading. This is the academic curriculum, so emerging academic skills, and these are important. So here is last century, this is the school readiness curriculum, but here is the most exciting curriculum of all, and all of our countries are moving in the direction of this part of the curriculum, which will be focusing on learning processes, self-regulation, executive skills, critical thinking, reasoning, problem solving, organizing and planning, decision-making, curiosity, enthusiasm for learning, imagination, creativity, perseverance, self-management, concentration, and at the bottom here, cognitive self-regulation. These are the skills of learning how to learn. These are not a specific content area. They're not mathematics. They're not science. They're not art. These are the core thinking skills that underlie all aspects of the new curriculum. And this is where there is agreement across Europe. Now, this is the English curriculum. I just thought this is our old curriculum, the curriculum I had hoped we would be revising, but because of Brexit we're not. But this is our current curriculum. There are 7 domains of development, and 3 of them are present at birth. Our curriculum goes from birth to age 6. That is the early childhood curriculum. And there are 3 core areas. Personal, social, and emotional development is there from birth. Communication and language is there from birth up to age 3, and physical development. These are the 3 core areas of the curriculum. But at 3, 4 new areas of the curriculum. These are specific areas. And at the age of 3, the 4 new areas of the curriculum are literacy, numeracy, mathematics, science and understanding the world, and expressive art and design. So our curriculum has 3 core areas which go from birth to age 18. Personal, social, and emotional, communication and language, and physical development. At 3, we get literacy, numeracy, science, and art. And these are the 7 domains of the curriculum for children between 3 and 6. Most countries in Europe have similar, they're not always the same, but similar domains of development that the curriculum should nurture in children. Now, how do we help children? How do we support children to develop in these 7 areas? This is pedagogy, and this, if you can imagine, this is a wheel, and it spins around. This is the pedagogy, playing and exploring. That is the pedagogy that will help children to develop the areas of the curriculum. So playing and exploring is the most important of the pedagogies that will support all of these areas of development. The other one is active learning. And active learning is not play. Imagine that the children are learning how to brush their teeth. They're not playing, they're being active. Or imagine the children are having a discussion about 3 children who are arguing, and the teachers and the children are discussing who should be able to use the iPad. And should we make a rule about how many minutes you can use the iPad? Should we have an egg timer so that you can use the iPad for 5 minutes? This is active learning, this discussion, but it's not play. So the pedagogy for developing the 7 areas of child development will be playful, it will be exploratory, but also there will be aspects of that curriculum which are supported through conversations, through interactions, which are not play, but are very important. And the third pedagogical means will be critical thinking. Here, critical thinking. So we have 7 areas of development that the curriculum supports, and we have 3 main types of pedagogy: play, exploring, active learning, and critical thinking, that are the means by which children acquire kind of knowledge and skills. Now, let's move on. What is self-regulation? I talked to you about the importance of self-regulation, of executive skills, of problem-solving, critical thinking, and this is from a rating scale that our teachers use when they're describing a child. This is cognitive self-regulation, which is a child who persists with difficult tasks, a child who chooses activities on his own, a child who does not need much help to finish tasks, a child who persists until tasks are completed, a child who can wait their turn, and a child who likes to work things out for himself. So these are some of the characteristics of a child in your center, in your classroom, who is a child who has cognitive self-regulation. It's concentration on tasks. Now there's emotional self-regulation also. The child is calm and easygoing. He gets over, if he's been upset, he can get over being upset very quickly. He obeys usually instructions. He does not argue with adults, he does not lose his temper, and he does not show wide mood swings. These behavioral statements are from a rating scale that we use in our research so that we can see how, to what degree a child has cognitive self-regulation or emotional self-regulation. There's also behavioral self-regulation, but we won't go through it. But I wanted you to get a sense of how we know, how we recognize in the classroom that a child is developing cognitive self-regulation or emotional self-regulation. They're both very important goals for early childhood. Now, I've talked about the curriculum, and in the European study funded, which was called CARE, we looked at the official national curriculum of the 11 countries in our sample. These are official government documents. In most countries, this curriculum has been legislated. It is legally binding. This is the curriculum. Here, we have curriculum guidelines. Many countries have a small national curriculum. It's not many pages, it may be 10 pages, 12 pages, 20 pages, but they have a lot of informal unofficial guidelines that guide what teachers are doing in their preschool classrooms. So we have the official curriculum, we have the guidelines, and here we have implementation. This is where the curriculum itself is implemented in the classroom, in the play center, and so this implementation is what really drives children's learning and development. The curriculum does not have a kind of magical, oh gosh, that was not good. Yeah. Here, the curriculum and the guidelines influence the implementation in the classroom, but it is this that drives children's development. However, many, many other factors influence the implementation. One will be the values and historical traditions of your country. These are very, very important. In Norway, for example, there is a very strong value for citizenship, for democracy, that children in the classroom should always be consulted, their voice should be heard. This is very important in Norway, this value and tradition of the young child as a citizen here. But also, and that will influence the implementation of the curriculum, but also influencing it will be the workforce, will be the training of the workforce. It will be the salaries of the workforce, the conditions, are staff given appraisals? Are they given professional opportunities for professional courses? And so the workforce will influence implementation. Resources will influence implementation. The ratios. In England, between the ages of 3 and 6, we have 8 children for each adult teacher. Greece has 26 children for each adult teacher. So what goes on inside the classroom, the implementation, is influenced, of course, by the curriculum. Greece and England have curricula that are quite similar in many ways. And yet here you have 26 children, between 26 and 30 children for one adult. And in England, we will have 24 children with 3 teachers. So certainly what's going on in here in terms of implementation is going to be very, very different. The English curriculum and the Greek curriculum say that the teacher should plan activities for children of all abilities and of all cultural backgrounds. If you have 30 children, it's very difficult to plan activities for every individual learning need. If you have 8 per adult, it is much easier. And so the curriculum, the national curriculum here, is influenced in its implementation by resources, by the workforce, by the values, by monitoring. Is there an inspection system? The English national curriculum has a very strong inspection system with government inspectors. The Greek system has much less inspection. And the last will be the partnership with parents and with the community will also influence implementation. So the curriculum is important, but as important will be monitoring, parents, community, resources, workforce, and values and tradition. And what influences child development is this. So I hope that's clear. Curriculum is important, but what really matters to children is the implementation on the ground. And that is influenced by many, many, many factors, including the fact that you've all come here today. All right, now that is the European study called Project CARE that looked into the curriculum across Europe. Now I'm going to talk to you, share with you, the largest study in Europe on the effects of early education on children's development. Remember, we saw that it was what was implemented in each classroom, in each center, that really shapes the children's development. In England, we have one national curriculum, and all 99% of our centers follow this one national curriculum. So all children in England have been influenced by a single national curriculum that begins at birth and it goes to age 6. However, there is much variation in provision because of resources, because of ratios, because of training of staff, because of local values. And so we're going to look in one country with a single curriculum, and I'm going to show you that children's outcomes vary very much across England, even though every one of these centers has exactly the same national curriculum by law. Okay. Now, Project EPI, which is the largest study in Europe of the effects. Here you see a child who began EPI at the age of 3. This is a longitudinal study, and here you see the children at the age of 16. And EPI was, this is the project, Effective Preschool, Primary, and Secondary Education, that's EPSI, was funded by the Department for Education. So it was a government-funded project. The government wanted to know what are the effects of early education, which they're paying for. Early education is free in England from the age of 3. So let's look at the design. This is the early education system in England. It's free. All preschool providers follow the same curriculum, the early years foundation stage. Development of all children is assessed at the end of the early years foundation stage when the child is 5+, and it's assessed by a rating scale. Okay. And children are also assessed in England later on at 7 and 11. So, what are the effects of the English national curriculum on children's development? Here we have 3,000 children coming in at the age of 3, coming into their early childhood center. We assess them around 5 when they are getting ready to go to year 1. We assess them at 7 and at 11 and also at age 16. I'm going to tell you about age 11. So 3,000 children, some of these children did not go to preschool, they stayed at home. And the reason EPI is an important study in England, preschool became free in 2004. Before 2004, most parents had to pay. So in the EPI sample, we have children who did not go to preschool and children who did go to preschool. So we can compare the educational trajectories of children who had preschool and children who did not have preschool. Now this would be impossible because all children go to preschool. Okay. We have in EPI, we have child assessments over time. We have information on the family background. We have interviews with teachers. We have questionnaires for children beginning at age 7. We have case studies, and we have observation of quality, of pedagogical observations. Okay. What are the factors that influence the EPI children's development when they were 11? When they were 11, we have tests in English language and in mathematics. We also have assessments made by their teachers on self-regulation, likes to work things out for self, on prosocial behavior, antisocial behavior, hyperactivity. So what is affecting the child at the age of 11? What influences on the child's outcomes? Child factors like gender. Girls are better at English. Family factors like the parents' education. Children of well-educated parents have higher scores on tests. home learning environment factors, how the parents support learning at home. Preschool influences this, and also the primary school. The EPI study took account of all of these influences. So when our 3,000 children at the age of 11 are assessed, we look statistically, quantitatively at the effect of the child factors like gender, family factors like salary or education, home learning factors like how much the children read to how much the parents read to the children when they were in preschool, preschool factors, the quality, and primary school. Okay. We used 2 assessments of pedagogical implementation, and I don't have time. We have a workshop this afternoon. We'll look at them. But one is called the Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale R, and we assess these aspects of the implementation. We also assess the pedagogy for literacy, maths, science. And so we know for each of the 3,000, well, of all the children who went to preschool, what was the pedagogy of their preschool, and we know what were the teacher qualifications and the ratios, all right? Now, we're going to see how did the quality of the implementation, how did the quality influence children's outcomes? We don't have in your leisure, these are some of the ways that we assessed quality, but I don't have time. Okay, there. Now, you're going to see a role play of children learning science, and this is one of the ways we assessed the quality of pedagogy, was we looked at the way teachers help children develop scientific concepts. So come, children, for your acting.
Es esmu skolotāja, kas vēro, kā 3 bērni spēlējas.
Es toties esmu skolēns, kuram kurpēs ir gaismiņas.
Es arī esmu skolēns, kam kurpēs ir gaismiņas.
Es esmu skolēns, kuram kurpēs nav gaismiņu.
Es vēroju. Dace. Tev ir tādas interesantas kurpes ar gaismiņu.
Jā, jo jaunas.
Jaunas? Man arī ir jaunas, bet man nav gaismiņas.
Nu jā, tās gaismiņas ieslēdzas, kad staigā.
Kad staigā ieslēdzas, man neieslēdzas.
Tev noteikti tais kurpēs jābūt caurumiem. Tad tur ir gaismiņas, tātad tur ir jābūt caurumiem.
Manās kurpēs ir caurumi, bet gaismiņas nedeg. Mikam arī ir kurpes ar caurumiem, bet viņam arī nedeg gaismiņas.
Varbūt iemesls ir tas, ka man nav vienkārši baterijas ielikts iekšā.
Nu, nezinu, man spīd, bet es nejūtu nekādas baterijas.
Baterijas ir noslēptas tur.
Kur tad, pirkstgalos?
Es nezinu, jā?
Nezinu. Kas tur īsti ir? Un kāpēc tas tā ir?
Lai turpinātu atbildu šo jautājumu, Ketija, please continue.
Thank you. Well done. I think, turn to your neighbor and each one tell the other one thing the teacher did that aided the development of science. Tell your neighbor one thing the teacher said that helped children develop science. Tell each other. I want each pair to come up with 2 strategies the teacher used to develop science. Okay? You must stop. We must stop. Stop. Now, we won't have time for each of you to report. However, I am going to summarize some of the good things. I'm going to give you a few examples of good pedagogy for science, and then I'm going to tell you what I think is what I call killer pedagogy. I don't know how this translates into Latvian. Killer pedagogy, okay? Good pedagogy that we see every day. The teacher says, oh, I wonder how these shoes light up. We see this every day, okay? But it's good. And then at the end, the teacher says, how can we find out more? How can we investigate? Are there batteries? Very good pedagogy. We see that every day. But what is the killer pedagogy here? The children have scientific hypotheses. One child says they light up because they're new, hypothesis number one. The teacher says, mine are new. She refutes the hypothesis. Then another child says, oh, they light up when you step down. The teacher refutes hypothesis number two. Then the child says they light up because they have holes. And the teacher says, I have holes. Hypothesis number three is refuted. In this case, this teacher is showing killer pedagogy because she is taking the children very seriously. She is listening to their hypotheses. She's giving them evidence that their hypothesis must be wrong. And she's relentless. This teacher is relentless because she wants these children to learn about science. And what they're learning is how to make a hypothesis, how to reason, how to think critically, how to evaluate a hypothesis. This hypothesis, it's because they're new, has got to be wrong because the teachers are new and they don't light up. So you've seen an example of the middle pillar of curriculum. These are the thinking skills. This is reasoning, paying attention, keeping task focused. These children did not wander off to play. These children were playing, but they were also thinking critically. And they were doing it under the guidance of the teacher. Okay, I've run out of time, so I must go ahead. When we assessed the quality of the implementation, this is the pedagogical quality in 141 centers that attended by 2,800 children, we found here you have the children who stayed at home. So I put the home children. This is at 11-year-old, and the children are taking English tests and maths tests, the national tests, at age 11. The scores of the home children I have put to 0. These are the scores on the maths test, of the English test, of children who went to low quality, medium quality, and high quality. So you see for English, the higher the quality of the pedagogy, the children are now 11. They left their preschool when they were 5. 6 years ago, the quality of that pedagogy is having an influence on their mathematics and their English performance after we have taken account of birth weight, gender, salary, parents' education. These effects are net. You have the word net in Latvian? The effects of pedagogical quality are net of all of the other influences that we talked about. So this is pedagogical quality on math scores and English scores, which the government takes very seriously. Now, we'll look at the effect of pedagogical quality on self-regulation. This is the middle pillar. This is the new curriculum. And you see that the higher we set the children who stayed at home here, and children who went to low quality, this is their self-regulation score. statistically, it's not different from this. This is the children who went to medium quality. This is their self-regulation score at the age of 11. And this is the children who went to high quality. So for self-regulation, this 21st century skill, pedagogical quality made a big difference. All these children have the same curriculum, but they have different pedagogical quality in their classrooms. And I look at just one more. No. Oh, this is not good. Also, I somehow lost the slide, but in terms of antisocial behavior, children who went to higher quality preschools have better behavior. So it's not just self-regulation, it's also capacity to get on well with peers. What really matters is the pedagogical quality in the implementation. The curriculum is important, but more important is pedagogical quality. Okay? Here we have, here's the home learning environment, very important. Here is preschool, very important. And they both have an influence on children's self-regulation when they begin school, when they're ready for school at age 5. This then has an influence on literacy and on numeracy. So self-regulation is very, very important. Preschool has a direct effect on exams, but it also has an indirect effect through developing self-regulation. And once children have self-regulation, they are better learners. So preschool is important for many, many reasons. Curriculum is important, but the pedagogical quality is much more important. Go to the end. Will there be a common European framework? Will there be a common curriculum? I think there will not be. Okay. European curricula are the consequence of different cultural, political, and historical traditions. I come from the United Kingdom. The Scots will never have a curriculum that's like the English. And they will always tell you their curriculum is better than our curriculum. So the curriculum, actually, I was on the committee that created our curriculum. We were very influenced by Scotland. I know that the English curriculum has a lot in it, but that is related to the Scottish curriculum, because I was on the committee. However, talk to any Scot, and they will tell you their curriculum is completely different from the English curriculum. There are different values and traditions. So there's not going to be a single European curriculum. Okay, but there is an emerging consensus on all European countries about soft skills. We call them 21st century skills, you call them transversal skills, but self-regulation is one of them, teamwork is another, critical thinking is another, reasoning that you saw with the shoes. The English EPI study, which I've shown you, shows that quality, pedagogical quality, is more important, and that must be the aim for your reform, must be pedagogical quality. So I think across Europe, there may be more agreement about the 21st century skills, about cognitive regulation, self-regulation, than there's going to be on the curriculum itself. And I think that's it.